What up, everybody? It's your boy Sack the King up in this motherfucker, man. Back with another life story, man. And as you can see from the title, yes, I almost joined the Special Forces, man. Now, for y'all who don't know, yeah, I'm an Army veteran. You know what I'm saying? I joined the Army at 17. You feel me? That's a whole nother story I can get into. But I was telling somebody else this story in particular the other day. So I'm going to go ahead and share it with y'all, man, about how I almost joined the Special Forces, man. And I know y'all probably thinking like, well, shit, what happened, man? Why you didn't join the Special Forces, man? So when I tell you this story, it's gonna all make sense. If you feel me, man. You know what I'm saying? If you've been in the military, excuse me. If you've been in the military, if you've been in the Army, maybe some of this shit might make sense, all right? So let's just get right on into it, man. It's the year 2000, you feel me? I'm in AIT. Now, you know what? That's where you learn to do your job. Advanced Individual Training is AIT. You know what I'm saying? Now, I had happened to get married in AIT. Let me preference. Let me give y'all a little bit of background. That's a whole nother story. You know what I mean? That I can give y'all. I got a lot of Army stories, man. So anyway, so I get married while I'm in AIT, right? You know what I'm saying? But I'm trying to join the Special Forces. So let me rewind it back a little bit to when I went to basic training. All right. So I went to basic training at Fort Knox, Kentucky. I wasn't supposed to go to Fort Knox, Kentucky. That's a whole nother story. You know what I'm saying? But let's fast forward to where I'm at, Fort Knox, Kentucky. So I'm at Fort Knox, Kentucky, man. And one of the people that was there with me, there was this country ass white boy named Billy Williams. He talk like this, you know what I'm saying? This motherfucker was from like West Virginia somewhere. I bullshit you not. Billy Williams from West Virginia, man. I'm gonna have to look this nigga up one day, you feel me? True ass story. So, in basic training, Billy Williams was like one of these robot type individuals, you know what I'm saying? Like, and what I mean by that is if somebody told him to do something, he'd be like, yes, Drill Sergeant, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to sound like Forrest Gump, but he sounds just like this, you know what I'm saying? He was from like West Virginia, from the like backwood mountain Appalachians, West Virginia, like, and everybody used to think he was a weirdo. But let me tell you one thing about this motherfucker. This motherfucker was like already hella strong, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could tell like he ain't never even seen a gym before. But this motherfucker was already like hella strong, you know what I'm saying? He was like a big ass country white boy, but like hella muscular, you know what I mean? So anyways, I used to talk to him. He was a real quiet dude, you know what I mean? But I used to talk to him because, I'm just cool like that. And I seen that he didn't have very many friends in basic training. So, I tried to be a friend to him. But one thing about Billy, man, is he used to do every fucking thing that the drill sergeant said, like a robot, like it was programmed into him, right? I'll give you an example, right? So when they used to be like, get in the front, lean and rest, you know what I'm saying? If you've been in the military, you know what the front, lean and rest is. This is the push-up position. I bullshit you not. Everybody else would be like bending their back, like, man, bending like bullshit, you know what I mean? This motherfucker Billy, he'd be like, you know what I'm saying? He'd have his arms straight out in the fucking front lean and rest. You know what I'm saying? Like he was that technical about every single thing that they asked him to do. You know what I mean? Like, and I knew that like he was the perfect candidate for being in the Army because he was like that. Like everything they asked him to do in basic training, okay. Everybody used to think he was a stupid motherfucker though because he was quiet, I think. You know what I mean? But I used to talk to him, so I knew that he wasn't stupid. He was just quiet, and he just didn't have very much interaction with other races. You could tell, he was just a country-ass white boy from West Virginia. He used to talk like this, you know what I'm saying? So anyways, man, Billy Williams, right? So fast forward, out of basic training, we all graduate basic training. He was supplied like I was supplied. That's going to be a whole nother story, how I picked my job. But anyways, let's get back to the topic on hand. You know what I mean? So we go to AIT. You feel me? We all in AIT. Everything is cool. That's where you're learning your job and everything. Billy was in the same program as I was, supplied. But Now, when you get to AIT, there's other programs, like if you play basketball, you can sign up to play for the team, for the all army team. If you box, if you do anything, if you good at anything else outside of army shit, you know what I'm saying? That's for you. So me personally, I thought I was the hardest nigga alive at 17. Like you couldn't tell me I wasn't. Like nigga, I was on some other shit. Nigga, I thought I was hard. But that's only because like the environment I grew up in, I grew up around gang culture, you feel me? So I had already done a whole lot of grown ass shit, hard thug ass shit before I even joined the military. So I'm coming in there like, nigga, I'm more realer and I'm more harder than anybody I can think of at this point in the army. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking I'm so fucking tough. I'm like, well, shit, let me challenge myself. Shit, let me join the motherfucking special forces and shit. Because let me rewind it back a little bit. I wanted to join the Marines. You feel me? And the reason why I wanted to join the Marines is because when I used to be at YCP, that's a whole nother story. You know what I'm saying? I was at this little youth challenge program for bad kids. You know what I mean? And it was like a place like that was military kind of like based. It was on a military base. And you can get your GED. I dropped out of school by then because I was just doing the most. You know what I mean? I thought I was too tough and cool for school. So I got sent to this program. You know what I mean? This is like a last effort program before they put your ass in jail or some shit like that. So while you're there, you get a chance. This would have been like my senior year in high school. You get a chance to earn your GED. You got to go to class every day, but outside of class, you just living like the military is. You know what I mean? It's like military structure. That's the term that I wanted to use. So they used to have the recruiters come in. You know what I mean? And when the Marine recruiter came in, like I listened to the Air Force, I listened to the Army, I listened to the Navy, but when the Marine recruiter came in, I remember it was a black guy, and he just made the Marines seem like, nigga, if you ain't in the Marines, you ain't tough. You know what I mean? Like I said, it's going back. I'm 16 at that time, turning 17, and I just really thought I was the hardest nigga alive. Like you couldn't tell me I wasn't the hardest nigga alive, nigga. Like I had already been putting in work for the neighborhood and everything. Like you couldn't tell me that I wasn't the hardest nigga alive. Anyways, man, let's fast forward. So when I graduate the program, right, I'm in Louisiana at the time though. So I'm calling a Marine recruiter like, hey, come pick me up. I already got my GED. I got a high ASVAB score. Like I'm the perfect candidate to go. You know what I mean? I had to get some dough because I had already had a child. You know what I'm saying? And that's part of the reason why I joined the military, because I had to get some money, and a reason why I dropped out of school is because I had to get some money. You feel me? Aside from being a knucklehead. So anyways, so the Marine recruiter was always like, yeah, just come down here to the station. Just come down here to the station. But nigga, I'm living in Louisiana. I don't got no car. It's a country ass back road. I'm like, bruh. So I got tired of playing the game with him. My mom was putting pressure on me like, nigga, what are you going to do? Because I went to another program after that, like a Job Corps program, and I ended up quitting that shit. That's a whole nother story. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, so my mom was putting pressure on me like, nigga, you better do something if you coming back to my house. You know what I mean? So anyways, so I called the Army recruiter. So I remember, this is kind of like why I joined the Army. I'm going to get into that story another time, but longer story short, I was watching an Army commercial. I was chill at this chick's house one day, and I was watching an Army commercial. I was like, man, these niggas is be all you can be. This is like right when they switched over from be all you can be to Army of One. This is like 2000. If you remember back in them times, it used to be all you can be in the Army. And then they switched over to like Army of One, like that same year of 2000, right? So I'm caught like right in the middle. So I seen one of these be all you can be commercials. So I'm like, shit, I'm about to be all I can be. They showing special forces, all Rangers, all this kind of shit. So I called the Army recruiter. I'm like, hey, man, I explained to him the same shit. Like, man, I'm trying to join the Marines, but this motherfucker playing. I got an ASVAB, high ASVAB score, and I got a GED. I ain't got no felonies or nothing. I'm trying to get the fuck up out of Louisiana. You know what I'm saying? He was like, shit, I'll come pick you up right now and we can talk about it. That's what happened. He came and picked me up. Longer story short, man, I'm in the Army now. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, I'm thinking I'm the toughest nigga alive. You know what I mean? So I'm in AIT. And now I want to sign up for the special forces shit. But in AIT, you got to have like a battle buddy, somebody that go with you everywhere that you go. You know what I'm saying? So none of the niggas wanted to sign up for this shit. They like, hell no, niggas, too many hoes around this bitch. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I'm going to get into all these other Army stories, man, now that I'm telling this one. But longer story short, I couldn't find nobody to go. So here go Billy Williams. I'm like, well, shit. This motherfucker right here is like a robot. You know what I mean? Like, he seemed like the perfect type to go to some special forces shit, because he gonna do whatever the fuck they ask him to do anyway. They tell him to kick down the door and kill 20 motherfuckers. Yes, drill sergeant, I'm gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, so I was like, hey, Billy. I was like, hey, man, check it out. Shit, I'm trying to sign up for special forces, but I need a battle buddy. Now, you don't have to sign up. I just need a battle buddy to go over here with me to these little meetings and shit. You know what I'm saying? So Billy was like, at first he was kind of hesitant. He was like, Castro, I don't think that's for me. You know, I don't know. I just kind of want to do this. I'm like, come on, Billy, you like the perfect candidate for this shit. You know what I mean? So I talked him into that shit. He's like, okay, Castro, I'll go with you. So anyways, we start going to these meetings, you know what I mean? We start going to these meetings, and I'm getting deep into this special forces shit. I'm ready to cancel my orders and go to Fort Bragg and all this shit, right? Bullshit you not. This is why I didn't join the special forces, right? This is why I didn't join the special forces. A NCO, a black NCO, like drill sergeant, he pulled me, he said, hey, Castro, I had to let him know, hey, me and Billy's about to go over here. Me and William's about to go over here to the special forces meeting. He said, hey, you know what? Come here, Private. Let me talk to you. I was like, what's going on, drill sergeant? He was like, I see you going to these special forces meetings. You know what I mean? He was like, didn't you just get married? I said, yeah. He was like, okay, yeah, you know. He was like, let me ask you a question before you go to this meeting. I'm not trying to deter you or nothing. I see that you know, really headstrong about this. You know, I'm like, yeah, shit, I can do this. He's like, you sure that's something that you want to do? I said, hell yeah, that's something I want to do, shit. And I gave him the kind of like the little rundown on how I wanted to be a Marine and all this other shit. And you know, I'll if I'm going to do this Army shit, I'm going to do it to the max. He said, okay, that's all cool. But let me ask you a question. He said, when you go to these meetings, right? I'm like, yep. He said, how many of you do you see? I was like, huh? What do you mean? He was like, how many of you do you see? And I was like, well, what do you mean, drill sergeant? He said, how many of you do you see? And he was pointing to his skin. And it popped in my head like, are you talking about like black people, minorities? He's like, yeah, how many of you do you see? I thought about that shit for a second. I said, none. I said, shit, I'm the only one. He said, exactly. He said, who's your battle buddy? I said, Williams over there. He said, what is he? I said, shit, he white. You know what I mean? He said, exactly. He said, above that, right? You just got married. I said, yeah. He said, that's all that you're going to be around when you join the special forces. You know what I mean? You're going to be around a bunch of white boys, and you don't even know what you're getting yourself into. He said, do you want to be with your wife, or do you want to be around a bunch of white boys all day? And he wasn't trying to be racist. He was keeping it real with me, because later on I found out, you know, how the Army is. And there's a lot of like, what should I say? Like white nationalists. There's a lot of those in the military, a lot of those. And this is damn near what I'm thinking back. You know, what a lot of them special forces dudes who were signing up was like a bunch of white nationalists. You know what I mean? And I ended up being in my unit and going to Iraq later on, years later, around a bunch of white nationalists. You know what I mean? So they're embedded in the military. I work for the military now, and there's a few people that I can consider a white nationalist. You know what I mean? They just hide behind that uniform. So anyways, you know, I didn't know what any of that was at the time. I just knew that he was making sense on, it's going to be a bunch of you and a bunch of them white boys out there. You know what I'm saying? And when it comes time to be the first person to go do something, who you think they're going to send? Me. You know what I mean? But more importantly, he was like, not only are you going to be in that kind of situation and combat arms and shit, you know, because I was telling him why I picked my job and all this other shit. Like I said, this is a whole nother story why I picked my job. And he was like, no, that ain't gonna match up to, you're gonna be unhappy. You know what I'm saying? You telling me why you picked your job and the shit that they gonna have you doing, you're gonna be very unhappy, especially when you're around a bunch of them. You know what I mean? And you're not around a bunch of your own. He said, more or less, you just got married. You know what I mean? Do you want to be around your wife or do you want to be around them? I'm like, well, shit, it's the Army. Can't I be around both? Ain't she gonna come with me? Or he said, no. You're going to be around them more. If there's 365 days in a year, you're gonna be around them 335 of them days. And guess what? Jody's gonna be fucking your wife while you're gone. You know what I mean? And in the Army, Jody is a joke. Like, when you ain't home, Jody's at your door. You know what I'm saying? Like, go Google that shit, you know. Jody's the nigga that fucks your wife while you on deployment. And Special Forces cats, they deployed all throughout the year. You know what I mean? So imagine you being a minority, you being around a bunch of white nationalist white boys, and Jody's over here fucking your wife. You know what I'm saying? So when he told me that shit, I bullshit you not. Like, sometimes with me, even to this day, all it takes is a little spark or an idea, and that can change the whole course of my plans of what I'm gonna do. You know what I mean? I'll tell some more stories, like why I went to Hawaii and why I came to Japan later on. You know, because it was a little spark that started the flame. You know what I mean? So I remember, you know, he said, that's just something to think about. I'm not trying to deter you. I just want you to think about that because I see you headed in that direction, and I don't think that you know what you're getting yourself into. And you know, we had maybe about a 15-minute conversation about the shit. So after that, it fucked me up. You know, me and Billy Williams went to the motherfucking meeting, and that's all I could think about when I got in there was it was a bunch of white boys in there, and I was just thinking like, damn, I got this pretty ass wife I just married. You know what I mean? Like, we ain't even had sex yet. She a virgin. Like, damn, you know what I mean? Like, and Jody gonna be fucking my bitch? Like, hell no. Longer story short, I got out of that shit. That was the last meeting I went to. And that was like the second to last meeting before you sign the papers to change your orders and shit, right? I was this close, bro. If he would have never asked me or pulled me to the side that night, who knows where my life would be right now, right? But I get all into that to say this. Billy Williams, he still kept going to those meetings. I'm not sure who else became his battle buddy after that, but he still kept going to those meetings, right? We graduate AIT. I'm going to Germany now. You know what I'm saying? I didn't change my orders from Korea to Germany now because I'm married and my ex-wife outranked me by 1 day. So we went on her orders, which was Germany, which I'm so glad, man. I'm telling you, that shit changed my life. Who knows where I would be at right now in life had I went to the Special Forces and, you know what I mean? Like, not went to Germany, man. I had some of the greatest times of my life in Germany. And I'm going to get into more of them stories if you haven't heard them already, man. But Billy Williams, he stuck with that shit. Now let's fast forward. That was 2000. Let's fast forward 2003. I'm in Iraq now. You know what I mean? The internet is kind of like, you know, it's still in its infancy, but it's still up and running. You know what I mean? You can, I don't even know if you could Google shit yet, but they had this thing in the Army called Worldwide Locator. I don't know if they have it anymore, but basically what you could do is you could type in somebody's last name or first name, and his name was Billy Williams. You know what I mean? Williams is a common last name, but Billy isn't a common first name. And you could look up where they're at. And I remember typing in, I remember being bored maybe one of the 2 days I was bored in Iraq because I had to do a lot of shit out there. And I was like, man, I wonder whatever happened to Billy Williams. Like, damn, like he really went through with the Special Forces shit, right? I looked up Billy Williams. He had went all the way through with that fucking Special Forces shit. And this motherfucker was like an E6 by then. In like 3 years, he made E6. You know what I mean? Attached to some kind of Special Forces unit. I think they was in Afghanistan at the time. But I remember seeing that shit, and they had a picture of him and everything. And I was like, this motherfucker really is an E6 now. You know what I mean? Like, hella quick. But I knew that he would be the perfect candidate. And I knew it didn't surprise me why he ranked up that quick, because like I said, he was like a robot. Like he was going to do whatever they asked him to do. You know what I'm saying? So it didn't surprise me that Billy Williams had ranked up to E6 in less than 3 years, damn near 3 years, you know what I mean? And was still in the special forces, man. And I don't know whatever happened to Billy Williams after that, you know what I mean? That was like the only time I looked it up, but I always wondered like, whatever happened to him? Because I remember I was the catalyst to him joining that shit. If it wasn't for me, he wouldn't even have that idea to do that. Who knows where his life would be at right now? You know what I mean? This was like over 20 years ago, so I'm pretty sure if he stayed in, he probably retired from the military. But yeah, man, Billy Williams, man, he really went through with that shit. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I hope God's blessing him. I hope he's still alive. I don't know what he's doing with life right now, but Billy Williams, man, Special Forces. That's the time that I almost joined the Special Forces. But like I said, it took one person with a 15-minute conversation to change my mind and change the trajectory of my life, man. So, yeah, it's just crazy, man. Shout out to Billy Williams, man. I doubt he'll ever see this, but yeah, I remember he went through with that shit, man. And, you know, I just wonder whatever happened to Billy Williams, man, because he was definitely a soldier, man. It's your boy Sack the King, man. I didn't want to make it this long, but yeah, this is one of the many Army stories that I'm going to come with y'all. So stay tuned, man. You already know what to do, man. Hit that subscribe button below so you can be the first to know you can help this channel grow, man. And I'm out.